In the quiet, upscale suburbs of Oak Ridge, trust was an expensive commodity, and secrets were buried deep beneath the polished floors of expensive mansions. Among the residents, Arthur and Emily Sterling were viewed as a golden couple. Arthur was a 42-year-old, highly successful investment banker. He was a man of absolute control, cold calculation, and silent observation. Emily, 34, was a former art gallery curator who now spent her days managing their sprawling home. To the outside world, their marriage was a fortress, but inside, the walls were cold, and the silence between them was deafening. Arthur's work consumed him. He spent long hours at the office, often returning home late in the night, his mind preoccupied with numbers and market trends. Emily felt like a ghost in her own home, a decorative ornament in Arthur's perfectly structured life. The emotional distance grew wider with each passing month, creating a void that was waiting to be filled. And then, on a rainy Thursday night in November, the void found its catalyst. It was 11:30 p.m. The rain was drumming heavily against the glass windows of the Sterling estate. Arthur was in his home office on the second floor, reviewing financial portfolios. Emily was downstairs in the dimly lit living room, reading a book. Suddenly, the chime of the front doorbell rang through the quiet house. Emily got up and walked to the door. When she opened it, she was met by a young delivery courier. His name tag read John. He was 25 tall, with wet dark hair clinging to his forehead, holding an insulated food delivery bag. He looked exhausted from the rain, but when he looked at Emily, his face softened. For the past month, John had been the regular courier for the local delivery service in the area. What started as brief, polite exchanges at the door had slowly turned into lingering glances. Emily found herself ordering food she didn't need just to see his warm, sympathetic smile. John saw a lonely, beautiful woman trapped in a cold mansion. On this rainy night, as John handed her the package, their fingers brushed. Instead of pulling away, Emily kept her hand on his. John looked around the empty driveway, then stepped closer for a brief, dangerous moment. They stood there, holding hands in the doorway, their fingers locked, sharing a silent, forbidden connection. But their silent moment was abruptly shattered. From the shadows of the hallway behind Emily, a cold, calm voice cut through the air. "Is there a problem with the delivery, Emily?" Emily gasped, instantly pulling her hand away from John's grip. She turned around to see Arthur, standing at the base of the stairs. His face was completely unreadable, his eyes locked onto John. John stepped back, his face turning pale under the porch light. "No, sir, just delivering the package," he stammered, adjusting his wet cap. Arthur walked slowly toward the door, his eyes scanning the young courier, then moving down to his wife's nervous posture. "I don't recall ordering any food tonight, Emily. In fact, we had dinner just 3 hours ago." Emily swallowed hard, trying to keep her voice steady. I ordered it, Arthur. I was feeling a bit hungry while reading. I forgot to mention it to you." Arthur looked at the package, then back at John. The silence stretched for several agonizing seconds. "I see," Arthur said, his voice smooth and devoid of any emotion. "Make sure you tip the courier well, Emily. It is a very wet night." Without another word, Arthur turned around and walked back up the stairs. His footsteps were slow and deliberate. John gave Emily a final, worried look, turned, and ran back to his delivery vehicle. Emily closed a heavy oak door, her heart hammering against her ribs. She looked up at the staircase. She knew Arthur was a man who noticed everything, but his calm reaction made her believe that perhaps, just perhaps, he hadn't seen their hands locked together. It was a fatal miscalculation. Arthur Sterling did not react with anger. He reacted with observation. And as he sat back down at his desk in his office, his mind was no longer on the stock market. He was calculating a different kind of transaction. 2 days later, Arthur announced that he had to travel to New York for an urgent 3-day financial conference. He packed his leather suitcase, kissed Emily on the cheek with his usual cold affection, and drove away to the airport. For Emily, the departure felt like a heavy weight being lifted from her chest. The mansion was no longer a prison. It was a playground. Within hours of Arthur's departure, Emily used a burner application on her phone to contact John. She knew his shift schedule. She knew when he would be in the area. That very evening, John's delivery vehicle pulled up the long driveway of the Sterling estate. He wasn't carrying a delivery bag this time. He walked up to the door, and before he could even ring the bell, Emily opened it and pulled him inside. All the fear and hesitation vanished. The boundaries of her marriage were completely incinerated. Over the next 48 hours, while Arthur was supposedly sitting in high-rise boardrooms in Manhattan, John and Emily turned the Cole mansion into their own private sanctuary. They shared intimate dinners, drank Arthur's expensive wine, and spent the nights together in the master bedroom. Emily felt alive for the first time in years. John promised her that they could run away, that they could build a simple, honest life together far from the cold wealth of Oak Ridge. Emily wanted to believe him. She wanted to escape, but she was completely blind to the digital web that was silently closing around her. Arthur Sterling was not in New York. He had never boarded the plane. He was sitting in a modest motel room just 3 miles away, staring at a laptop screen. As a man obsessed with security and control, Arthur had secretly installed motion-activated pinhole cameras in the common areas of the mansion months ago, under the guise of upgrading the home security network. The cameras didn't just record video. They streamed live to his personal server. Arthur sat in the dark motel room, watching the high-definition footage of his wife and the young courier. He watched them laugh. He watched them touch. He watched them in his own bed. Any normal husband would have stormed the house in a fit of rage, calling the police or confronting them with a weapon. But Arthur was not a normal husband. He was a chess player. Anger was a useless emotion. Planning was everything. He watched the screen with a cold, detached curiosity, studying John's face, recording his movements, and analyzing the dynamics of their relationship. On the third day, Arthur returned home, pretending to be exhausted from his business trip. Emily had meticulously cleaned the house, erasing any physical trace of John's presence. She greeted Arthur with a warm smile, acting the part of the devoted wife. Arthur smiled back, playing his role perfectly. The next evening, dinner was served in absolute silence. The only sound was the clinking of silverware against porcelain. Arthur took a sip of his wine, wiped his mouth with a napkin, and looked across the long dining table at Emily. "Emily," he said softly. "Yes, Arthur?" she replied, looking up. "I want you to call John." The name hung in the air like a heavy block of ice. Emily froze. The fork in her hand slipped, clattering loudly against her plate. The color drained from her face, leaving her completely pale. Her breathing stopped. Who is John, Arthur?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Arthur didn't yell. He didn't slam the table. He simply pulled his phone from his pocket, turned it toward her, and pressed play. On the screen, in crystal clear quality, was a video of Emily and John on the living room sofa, their arms wrapped around each other. Emily let out a choked sob, covering her face with her hands. "Arthur, please. I'm sorry. I was lonely. It was a mistake. Please." "I don't care about your apologies, Emily," Arthur said, his voice flat and terrifyingly calm. "Apologies don't change the ledger. Now pick up your phone. Call your courier. Tell him you want to meet him tonight." "Why?" Emily cried, tears streaming down her face. "What are you going to do to him?" Arthur leaned forward, his eyes locking onto hers with chilling intensity. "If you do not call him right now, I will send this video, along with the financial records of your family's failed business, which I currently bankroll, to every media outlet and creditor in the state. Your family will be ruined, and you will be left with nothing but your shame. Call him. Tell him to meet you at the old Whispering Pines amusement park at midnight." Under the crushing weight of Arthur's threats, Emily's resistance collapsed. With shaking hands, she dialed John's number. When John answered, his voice was warm and filled with concern. Emily, fighting back her tears, delivered the script Arthur had written for her. She told John that she had had a massive fight with Arthur, that she couldn't stay in the house anymore, and that she needed to see him immediately. She told him to meet her at the old, abandoned Whispering Pines amusement park on the edge of town. John, suspecting nothing and wanting to protect her, agreed instantly. "I'll be there, Emily. Don't worry. We're going to get you out of there," he said before hanging up. Arthur took the phone from Emily's hand, deleted the call log, and stood up. "Get your coat, Emily. It is time to go." The drive to Whispering Pines was a journey through purgatory. Arthur drove his dark SUV through the winding, unlit backroads. Emily sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window into the pitch-black night, her tears silently fogging the glass. The silence inside the car was suffocating. Arthur drove with perfect precision, his hand steady on the steering wheel, his face illuminated only by the faint green glow of the dashboard. He didn't play any music. He didn't ask any questions. He was a man heading to a business transaction, completely detached from a human tragedy unfolding beside him. "Arthur, please," Emily pleaded, her voice cracking. "He is just a kid. He didn't know you. It was my fault. I am the one who let him in. Kill me if you want, but let him go." Arthur didn't turn his head. "This is not about anger, Emily. This is about debt. John took something that belonged to me. In my world, when you take something without paying, there's a penalty. And you, Emily, you are going to watch the price being paid." Whispering Pines was a relic of the 1980s. It had been closed for over 2 decades, left to rot in the damp Oregon forest. The entrance was guarded by a rusty iron gate, partially covered in overgrown vines. The towering wooden roller coaster stood like a skeletal monster against the night sky, its beams creaking in the cold wind. The Ferris wheel was frozen in place, its empty metal passenger cars swinging slowly, making a high-pitched metallic scraping sound. Arthur parked the SUV in the shadow of the abandoned ticket booths. He turned off the headlights, plunging them into darkness. "We wait," Arthur said simply. 20 minutes later, the headlights of a small, beat-up sedan appeared down the road. The car pulled into the gravel parking lot, its engine idling. John got out of the car, holding a flashlight. He shined it around the dark amusement park, calling out Emily's name. Arthur reached into the glove compartment. When he pulled his hand out, he was holding a heavy, black semi-automatic pistol. Emily let out a muffled scream, grabbing Arthur's arm. "No. Arthur, please. No." Arthur effortlessly shook off her grip, his strength cold and unyielding. He unlocked the doors and looked at her. "Get out of the car, Emily. Walk toward him. If you run, or if you scream a warning, I will shoot you first, and then I will hunt him down. Walk." Emily, her body shaking so violently she could barely stand, stepped out of the SUV into the freezing night air. She walked slowly across the gravel, her footsteps crunching in the dark. "John," she called out, her voice barely a whisper. John turned, his flashlight beam catching her face. "Emily, oh my God, are you okay?" He ran toward her, dropping his guard completely. But as John reached her, he noticed a dark figure walking slowly behind Emily. He slowed down, his flashlight beam shifting to reveal Arthur Sterling, his face calm, holding a gun at his side. "Emily, who is that?" John asked, his voice filled with sudden panic. "Get behind me." "It is too late for that, John," Arthur said, stepping forward. John tried to pull Emily behind him, his instincts telling him to run. But Arthur raised a pistol, aiming it directly at John's chest. "If you take one step, John, I will end you right here," Arthur said. The tone of his voice was so cold, so devoid of human emotion, that John froze in his tracks. The flashlight in his hand trembled, the light dancing erratically across the rusted structure of the nearby carousel. "Who are you?" John asked, his voice cracking with fear. "I am Arthur Sterling, Emily's husband." John looked at Emily, whose face was covered in tears. "Emily, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "Shut up," Arthur commanded. He stepped closer, keeping the gun trained on John. He turned slightly to Emily. "Look at him, Emily. Look at the man you brought into my house." "Arthur, please." Emily screamed, dropping to her knees on the gravel. "I beg you, take my life. Don't do this." "This is your punishment, Emily," Arthur said, his voice flat. "You wanted passion. You wanted excitement. You wanted to escape the quiet life I gave you. Now, you are going to carry the weight of this night for the rest of your life." Arthur looked back at John. John's eyes were wide with terror. He realized that this was not a confrontation. It was an execution. There was no negotiation. Arthur Sterling had not brought a gun to threaten. He had brought it to kill. "Please," John whispered. "I'm sorry." "A debt must be paid," Arthur said. A loud, deafening crack echoed through the abandoned amusement park, shattering the night. The bullet struck John directly in the chest. The force of the impact knocked him backward onto the gravel. His flashlight dropped, rolling away and illuminating the rusted base of a carousel horse. Emily let out a piercing, primal scream that was swallowed by the cold wind. She tried to crawl toward John's body, but Arthur grabbed her by the arm, pulling her back with terrifying strength. John lay on the ground, his chest heaving, blood quickly soaking through his jacket. He looked up at the dark sky, his breathing shallow and rattling. Arthur walked over to the dying young man. He stood over him, looking down with no more interest than a scientist observing an experiment. He raised the gun again, aimed at John's head, and pulled the trigger a second time. The second shot silenced the night. John Thorne was dead. Emily collapsed on the gravel, her mind fracturing under the sheer horror of what she had just witnessed. She sobbed uncontrollably, her face pressed against the cold dirt. Arthur calmly put the gun back into his pocket. He looked at John's lifeless body, then down at his wife. "Listen to me very carefully, Emily," Arthur said, his voice quiet, almost gentle. "You are going to help me put him in the trunk of his own car." Emily looked up, her eyes wide with horror. No, I can't. You're a monster." Arthur knelt down beside her, grabbing her jaw in a tight, painful grip. "If you do not help me, I will leave you here with him. I will call the police, and I will tell them that you and your lover had a fight, that you shot him, and that I arrived too late to stop you. I have the video of your affair. I have the financial motive. The police will believe me. You will go to prison for the rest of your life." He released her jaw, standing up. "But if you help me, we will drive away. We will clean this up, and we will go back to our perfect, quiet life. No one will ever know, but you will know. Every time you look at me, every time you sleep in our bed, you will remember that your betrayal killed this boy. That is your prison, Emily, and you are going to live in it." Guilt, terror, and the instinct to survive clashed inside Emily's mind. She looked at John's body, then at Arthur's cold, demanding face. She realized she had no escape. Arthur had designed the perfect trap. With shaking hands and tears blinding her eyes, Emily stood up. She grabbed John's cold ankles, while Arthur grabbed his shoulders. Together, they carried the body of the young courier and placed him in the trunk of his own sedan. Arthur drove John's sedan deep into the national forest, with Emily following behind in the SUV. They parked the sedan at the bottom of a steep, overgrown ravine, leaving it hidden beneath the thick canopy of trees. Arthur wiped down the car, removing any fingerprints. They then drove back to their mansion in Oak Ridge. By the time they returned, it was 4 a.m. The house was exactly as they had left it, cold, clean, and silent. "Go to bed, Emily," Arthur said, taking off his coat. "Tomorrow is a new day." 3 days later, the disappearance of John Thorne became official. His family called the police when he failed to return for his delivery shift. His employer confirmed that his last track location was in the Oak Ridge area, but his GPS signal had vanished shortly after 11 p.m. on the night of his disappearance. The police launched a missing person investigation. Detectives visited the houses along John's regular route, including the Sterling estate. Detective Michael Vance was the lead investigator on the case. He knocked on the door of the mansion. Arthur opened it, wearing a comfortable sweater, looking every bit the respected banker. Emily stood behind him, her face pale, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Sterling," Detective Vance said, holding up a photo of John. "We are investigating the disappearance of John Thorne, a courier who was working in this area on Thursday night. Do you recall seeing him?" Arthur looked at the photo, his expression one of polite concern. "Ah, yes, the delivery boy. He did bring a package to our house that night. It was raining quite heavily. I believe my wife took the delivery." Vance turned his gaze to Emily. "Mrs. Sterling, did you notice anything unusual? Did he mention where he was going next?" Emily felt Arthur's hand gently rest on her shoulder. The touch was light, but to Emily, It felt like an iron claw. She looked at Detective Vance. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tell him about the abandoned amusement park, about the gun, about the body in the trunk, but she saw the cold, warning glare in Arthur's eyes. She knew that if she spoke, Arthur would execute his plan. He had already wiped the security footage of the affair, leaving only the clips that framed her. He had the wealth, the lawyers, the perfect reputation. She would be the one who went to prison. And more than that, the crushing weight of her own guilt had convinced her that she was indeed responsible for John's death. Her sin had pulled the trigger. "No, Detective," Emily said, her voice barely audible. "He just handed me the package and left. I didn't see anything else." Detective Vance nodded, writing in his notebook, "Thank you for your time. If you remember anything else, please call us." As the detective walked down the driveway, Emily closed the door. She collapsed against the wood, weeping silently. Arthur walked past her toward his office. "You did well, Emily. The ledger remains balanced." Months turned into years. The police never found John's car in the deep ravine. The case of the missing courier slowly went cold, becoming just another unsolved mystery in the state archives. But inside the Sterling mansion, the real horror was just beginning. Emily lived in a state of perpetual psychological torment. She couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw John's face in the flashlight beam, heard the deafening crack of the gun, and felt the cold weight of his ankles in her hands. She stopped eating, her body becoming thin and frail. She stopped leaving the house, terrified of the outside world. Arthur, however, was completely unaffected. He went to work every day, managed his investments, and returned home to his silent wife. He never mentioned John's name again. He didn't need to. The silence was his weapon, and Emily's guilt was her own jailer. He had not just killed her lover. He had killed her soul. He had created a prison without walls, a sentence of life without parole, served inside her own mind. In the end, Arthur Sterling committed the perfect crime. He eliminated his rival, secured his wife's absolute submission, and escaped all legal consequences. He lived his life as a respected, wealthy man. But behind the closed doors of the Oak Ridge mansion, the silence remained, a dark, heavy monument to the night at Whispering Pines. And Emily Sterling remained his silent witness, trapped forever in the dark, waiting for a release that would never come.